So if you're taking the class and you're excited about it, please tell your friends and share it with other people. That would be greatly appreciated. And it's going to be exciting. What I'm learning more and more through receiving the downloads is that, we have created a lot of vows and agreements in other lifetimes that we're unconscious around. Of course, we have limiting beliefs in our current lifetime that have come up, but imprinted in our cellular memory, especially those of us who are starred seeds, who have been here from the beginning, in a sense, and have lived many, many lifetimes on Earth, are carrying things that carry through and bleed, as Raphael would say, through into our current reality. And they can impact our ability to live to our fullest. And part of our reason for being here is to uncover them, recognize them, and grow and heal. And so a big part of what we'll be doing is going into the Akashic records and identifying what some of those limiting they're not so much limiting beliefs, but vows and oaths that we took during certain lifetimes. And there's certain different categories that come up for most of us. And so I am feeling very strongly that whoever is called to be on this class is this pod of a group. And that often happens when I do classes, that the people that come together are meant to come together. So if you're feeling called to be in the class, I really encourage you to do so, because we're not only going to be clearing personally so much, it's going to open up space for us to elevate our vibration and live a deeper and more profound life, but it's also going to help the collective and the children coming that are coming in right now. We got a lot of questions this week about parenting and kids, so put some of those at the top of the list because I'm interested to see what Raphael has to say about that, and we'll answer other questions. In terms of the time, a lot of people are emailing me and I can't get back to all of you. If you have emailed me or direct messaged me and I haven't got back to you, I'm doing my best. I had been away and sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming. But for any of you who are asking about the times of the class, so on Saturdays at 2 p.m. East Coast time. So if you're in Europe, that's New York time at 2 o'clock, which for many people in the UK, that's going to be 7, and other parts of Europe 8 at night, will be one of the main classes with Raphael, where I will be channeling, giving the guidance. And then on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., Casey, and that will start on April 3rd, and it's going to run for 5 full weeks. And then on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., Casey will come on, and he's going to take the information that we got on Sunday and implement it for you in a more practical form, because often Raphael can sometimes be so etheric, it's hard to know how to apply it. And that's going to be wonderful. And then on Thursday night, there'll be Q&A where you'll be able to drop in if you have a question and ask. And I am assuming we're going to have ceremony work that's going to come through that Raphael will guide us through, that we'll be doing. If you miss a class or you can't get on certain days because the time doesn't work for you, it's no big deal at all. You're going to get a recording and you can listen to it and catch up as you go. Or if you miss a bunch and something comes up, you'll do it when you can, but you'll be connected to the group energetically, and that's what's really important. So don't worry if you miss a class or one particular time frame isn't working for you. So it runs April 3rd through to May 6th, I believe. Okay. All right. Enough about all that. Is there something else?
Yeah, the 144,000. Everybody tell us.
Oh, I know. Okay, so since I started channeling in 1989, Raphael has always talked about 144,000 people collectively together meditating and raising the consciousness at once. And I feel like the Sunday calls is a beautiful platform for that. I don't know how we would host that many, but we'd figure it out. So, these are free. And the more people that we have that can be on these calls and be connected together in this high vibration, even for this hour, is very powerful for the planet and for the grid around the planet. So, just share it with anybody or tell them to get in touch with me so that I can put them on the email list, or go on my website and just have them sign up for the Sunday calls.
Yeah, and if everybody does one person, that's all we're asking for. Just tell one person.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, enough of all that. Ready to go? Here we are. Everybody want to take a nice deep breath and sort of just drop into your body and ground down to Mother Earth. Feel her beauty. On this side of the planet, we're moving into spring. I can feel her stirring. All right, as we ground down, I'm just gonna bring in Archangel Michael. Just bring, smooth out the energy. Hello.
Hello.
It is that we are waiting for a few other beings that are wanting to be of assistance today to arrive. And as they are coming in, we are wanting to remind you how beautiful and perfect and divine it is that you are. And it is that we love and adore you and that you are not alone. And we're wanting you to just absorb that and remember that and know that with every ounce of your being. And as they are arriving, it is that I have been working more in a team, and perhaps this was mentioned in our last gathering, for we are working as a collective vibration of energy, and not only am I going solo or working singularly, but with many beings at this particular moment, because you are moving as very, very rapidly in your evolution, and it is that we have particular assignments that we are working on, and many have been assigned to this particular group of energy. And so we are here with an open heart to be of assistance and to serve in any way in which we can to support all of you as you have chosen to be here on earth, embodied in form. And so, hello.
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 So hi, Raphael. So we have a lot of questions today, and I was thinking one of the first questions has a bunch of different parts, and part of it touches on what you were just talking about. And somebody, Zarika De Beer is her, I believe her Instagram handle, and part of her question comes to, I'll just read the whole thing, the second part, and then we'll go back to the first part, which is, can angels come in physical reality if they want, if you call on them? Or are they walking along with us in the physical world or watching above? And then the other part is, how is everybody up there? Are the spirits in peace, or are some of them struggling to find it? I really want to know the purpose of angels. Are they merely helping us, or are they doing something beyond our understanding also? So maybe let's go into the purpose of angelic beings like yourself.
Well, first of all, it is that we adore this idea that you think we are above or floating up in the sky somehow, or that we are separate from you. And it is interesting concept that was developed by the human brain in order to wrap yourself around an understanding, because you're operating in linear time. However, it is not that we are above you. We are vibrating at a different frequency, is perhaps a better way to understand it, in which does not allow you to necessarily see us with the eyes that you have, or hear us, or connect to us in the way in which you do each other. But it is that when you are talking and what you have labeled as angelic beings are beings that have never incarnated in a form. They have never dropped in density enough to be housed in as a part of self in a vessel. And so in a sense, we are in another place in which you are, but it is not necessarily above you. It is with you and within you, and yet it is difficult to fully comprehend that from your perspective. We are burrowed in a sense, as are the dimensions in and around you, for you're walking in and through them all the time. And so in the asking if we are walking alongside of you, yes, we are, but are we walking alongside you just as your brother or sister or friend or mother or father is? No. We are not densifying to the point in which we are encapsulated in matter in the way in which you are. Our purpose, if you're asking perhaps what that is to begin to move into your field and to tap into or to start to touch a point that we tap or touch that stimulates something in you, that awakens you to a deeper connection to the other parts of yourself, which we are actually a part of. For it is that you think of us as separate from you, but I, as Archangel Raphael, am you. I am a part of you, but a part that has never fully incarnated and has not gone through the cycles of death and birth, nor do I have the capacity to utilize the human senses that all of you get to enjoy, unless I am perhaps dropping for a period of time as I am summoned to participate in this particular way, where I'm utilizing, like renting an Airbnb house or vessel for a short period of time, and then I clean up and I head out. But it isn't that I am separate. I am actually you. I'm just a different piece of you. And so it is that my purpose is to tap, and often where the places that I can tap are in the heart center, for there is an opening there, a tunnel in a sense, and a gateway inside your heart chamber that allows you to have an open access to the other parts of self. And the other part that we can touch is what you might label as your pineal gland. And this is also another gateway or portal or doorway to higher dimensions. And so our job is to stimulate those points vibrationally so that they begin to flower or to open, to support you in having greater access to yourself in higher realms and dimensions, which encompasses and includes me. Because I identify myself with a name and an idea of an angel that you can begin to relate to. And through your religious understandings and ways of dogma that have been connected to you in this lifetime, it allows you to wrap your mind and understanding around the concept more easily, and it gives you a sense of security or safety as you see us in a certain way. But it is not that we are necessarily the way that you are thinking or perceiving us in your mind. And as the consciousness begins to continue to elevate itself, you will begin to open up the doorway or the portal to the heart and to the pineal gland. And as you begin to do that, you'll start to realize and recognize that we are not separate from you. And so, yes, we are walking around with you, and yes, we are here with you, but we are dwelling and living inside of you. We are a part of you, but a part that is fully conscious and awake and an awareness, understanding of the wholeness with a zoomed out perspective, perhaps, than you are having from your linear perspective.
All right, thank you, Raphael. That's very clear. So I guess the next question that comes from that same person is came up a couple times for this week. And so exactly what this person asked was, Archangel Raphael, how can we help children that are extremely sensitive and emotional? I have a 7-year-old son that is really sensitive to his surroundings, And it's not just him. There are many children struggling with their emotions.
Oh, well, it is that new beings are arriving on your planet in droves. And they started to come in, well, many of you that you might think of yourselves as the elders who have been around a long time are what we call and have labeled starseed beings that were seated during the very beginning of the cycle of the Earth's promise of movement, in a sense. And then there was something that happened, and many of you might even label it a great fall, which was a fall from your original self, from the consciousness of the remembering of everything. And as that happened, a cycle of continuous lifetimes occurred and reconnected around and around and around and around. And what's happening right now is that consciousness that many of you participated in created an agreement or a law of what the rules were, in a sense, on Earth. And it also carried with it a particular frequency. And many of you might know, as you're beginning to understand how important frequency, energy, vibration, whatever you want to call it is, that it is actually everything, and everything is based on that it is calibrated at a certain hertz frequency, that it vibrates at a certain point. But it also has a grip, in a sense, all around the Earth. It is holding it because you all have collectively agreed. You might call it the collective consciousness. And some of you call it even the matrix, in a sense. And some of it is beginning to break. It's starting to rumble or to shatter or to have holes in it as it's beginning to break apart and to open. And as that's happening, little beings that you call children, which are beautiful star children, are arriving on the planet. And when they are arriving, they are coming in to break up this matrix. They're coming in to dismantle it. But it's difficult for them because they are vibrating at a much higher frequency in the new grid that is being built around the Earth. And so when they arrive, they have chosen to come to Earth during this particular time to be a bridge between the old world, in a sense, and the new world that's being born. And so because the families that they are born into and the collective consciousness and the things that they do are still very based in the old paradigm of being, it is sometimes very uncomfortable for them because they have to acclimate themselves to a much denser vibration than they are carrying. They're dropping into a field or a matrix or an energetic field that is carbon-based, that is based in an understanding of separateness and duality that is very different from what it is that they know in their heart to be. And so sometimes it can feel overwhelming, and the word that you were using was sensitive to situations, to people, to energies, to noise, to food, to all of these things. Because many of those things are vibrating at a very dense level. And so it is that as they're coming in, what they're doing is that they will start to build their own collective grid around the planet that will begin to vibrate at a higher octave. And what will happen is that will support the breaking down and the dismantling of this old energetic system or paradigm, whatever you may want to call it, that is no longer relevant to what is happening now as you are evolving. And so even though it is difficult for them, you have to remember as their parents that they chose to come on this mission and to do this, and that they had a conscious awareness that entering into such a dense energetic field such as the Earth in this current timeline would be challenging, but they were up to the job because they are the bridge. And so perhaps what you were asking is, how do you support them? Is that you honor who it is that they are. You do not minimize their sensitivity, and you recognize that they are here as a seer to begin to dismantle institutions and ideas, thought forms, and ways of being. And that is often why they don't fit into the construct of boxes that have been laid out in your linear time for a very long time, that are obsolete, that are like a dinosaur, that are no longer relevant to the unfolding and the evolution and the enlightenment of the human species. And so because more and more of them will arrive who will not be able to fit into the peg of the box of these, perhaps as an example, education systems and so on, they will be forcing the hand of the elders to modify, to change, and to upgrade their way of educating and so on. So they are here to dismantle old systems and old collective ideas and thought forms. Now, they also, although they are sensitive to many things, is because their light quotient is very high. And so they cannot always assimilate these lower vibrations. That is why it is very important that they are connected to actual light. Now, where does light come in? It comes in through the sun. It's very important for them to be on the cycle and the rhythm of the sunrise and the sunset, to be hitting their pineal gland and stimulating and activating. It is very important that their food has a very high light frequency, such as foods that are plant-based, and foods that the photosynthesis and the light are very deeply connected to the earth. This will support them. They often will come in with a lot of allergies and an inability to assimilate lots of different foods, and that's because energetically those foods are too dense for them. And so they will have to have lighter frequency foods. They will also have a difficult time going into crowds where there's lots of people. This could be very difficult for them. And so you'll have to work with them and teach them, although they will be your teachers and they already know this, but because they've dropped into the collective agreement of this consciousness that you are still operating to much degree in, about their energy field, how it works, to tune into it, to feel it, to have their centers, their chakras spinning, to call in their guides and the beings that they are speaking to, and to keep the doorway in communication to the higher realms open for them, and to encourage that so that they can call them in to be present with them and to hold like a guarded energy around them when they are entering into denser places. And so these children are the new beings. Some of you call them the crystal children, because they are moving into a crystalline-based form. And everything will be moving more and more in that direction as time begins to pass. Now, there are labels that you have labeled many of these children. Many, many years ago, starting with what you've called the indigo children, or the rainbow or crystal children, and so on, which is different levels of frequency of pods of soul beings, which are the oversoul will come in, because they each have a layer of an increment of breaking down that field. And because they do that, they're not always fitting in to the old paradigm, nor should they. And it is very important not to label them or to tell them that they are a specific thing, and to very much pay attention to the need to medicate them, although we are not advocating that if that is necessary, but we ask you to have lots of conscious awareness around that. and to, rather than think that they are overly sensitive or that they are unable to focus or whatever you want to label them around, that perhaps they are actually normal. And if you want to label something, and that it is the elders or the parents that may need to readjust their vibration and their way of seeing the world, because they're coming in to teach all of you to see things from a new perspective. They are the teachers, and they are the beings of light that will break down the current matrix and usher in a new vibrational frequency.
Thank you, Raphael. And that kind of leads into our next question from Ela Flander, is her Instagram handle, I believe. And so she then asked, I'd love to get advice about how to raise our children without teaching / passing them any of the limiting beliefs, like what you're talking about of all these old paradigms. We probably have to start leading by example, but they also get influenced by school, by friends, and I'd love to get more insight on how to be the most supportive to,
Yes, we understand from a parent's perspective that is difficult, but with the work that we are doing in that class that you're doing, the star class, star seed, is that you're breaking down within the parents these old vows and agreements, because when they are broken down, they cannot be passed on. And that's why it's so relevant, so important, and why I have engaged Kelly in wanting to do this and connecting with her and all the beings that are coming in to do this work. Because it is that you carry that vibration, and it goes through into the lineage, into the next generation. And so if you can stop it in its tracks, not only does it create an open space in your life, but it deeply affects the planet as a whole moving forward. And so it is important for the inner work of the parent to continue to look at self and recognize self and pay attention to what you are saying, and to begin to deeply delve into the subconscious, because the subconscious knows everything, but often isn't asked what it thinks. It's often put aside. But when you can tap into the subconscious and start to have awareness of other lifetimes, other agreements, other vows, other moments in time and space that are affecting your current belief, or what you call limiting belief, that isn't getting perhaps in the way of creating perfect health or abundance or worthiness or tapping into your purpose or whatever it may be, then you are opening that space so that that particular energetic imprint is not then carried and imprinted onto the child. And so the work begins with the parent, of course. Now, yes, when they go out into the big world, and there are all these imprints that are happening in all these places. But you also have to know that as they are bringing in something into their field, it's about clearing it as it comes up, rather than allowing it to deeply embed itself in the cellular memory and to accumulate. And so it's the imperative that the emotion of freedom is given to the children to express themselves. For the old paradigm was, don't cry, be quiet, sit still, focus, do your homework, get it done. You're on it. If you don't do it, this will happen or that. And although, yes, there are certain sequences in the current paradigm that you're still living in that you need to abide by, but allowing the emotion and or the belief to be discussed and brought to the surface, to be seen, and to have its freedom as energy to float up and to dissipate rather than to get caught. It's when something that's imprinted gets caught embedded in the energetic field, that's when it begins to become problematic as their life begins to continue to evolve. So taking time, perhaps even weekly, to go over beliefs or what was taught or what you learned, and questioning it, examining it. Well, is that how you feeling, or is that truth? And what is truth? teaching them discernment, teaching them about energy. Well, when you're listening to that teacher and you feel their energy, what do you feel from them? Is that coming from love? Is that coming from fear? And begin teaching them to utilize their skill sets and their antennas that are already up, to not just be sensitive to cause them pain, but to be sensitive to, what is that noise? To sensitive to use them for something positive, so that they become an antenna that discerns energy as they go along.
Thank you, Raphael. So I guess the next question that this leads into from Virgi Tanasa asks how, and it relates to discernment, how can we get proper clarity while making decisions? That is, making a decision without second guessing ourselves to the point of sabotaging it all.
Oh, well, it is that decisions should be based on feelings. How do you feel about it? And begin to moderate the feeling in your body. Are you feeling joy from your decision? Or are you feeling fear? Or are you feeling anxious? Or are you feeling excited? Or are you feeling courageous? What are you feeling? And something sometimes that's fun to do is perhaps you have to make a decision, and there's 3 options. So go into meditation and think about the scenario of what you have to decide. You're going to perhaps, you have 3 jobs that were offered to you, and you don't know which one to take, and you're second guessing yourself, and you're weighing all the different things. But you have to tune into the vibration and the feeling of it, and allow the mind to kind of step back. Because when you're only operating from the mind, you're not necessarily making a decision out of clarity. And although that sounds counterintuitive, it is that coming really from the heart will always lead your soul toward a decision that is based in your highest good. And so as you are in meditation, then create 3 doorways, perhaps right in front of you, and open the doorway and go into the scenario of this new situation, or as an example, this job, and sit in the job and see the people and talk to them and do the work and feel what it feels like there, what it feels like when you've come home from there, and really tap into how it feels. And then do the other doorways, and then stand back, and your heart will connect and radiate toward one of those doorways, and you will know that that is the doorway or the direction or the decision in which you're wanting to go. And then don't turn back, don't question, just with a deep clarity and knowing, move forward. Because even though this particular person that we can feel energetically asking this question is always questioning themselves, which is a deeper issue about really dropping into your power and owning your own truth of what it is that you deeply know is right for you. Because as we're tapping into the vibration of the one that is asking this, they're often wanting to seek approval of what other people think about their decision, rather than making the decision from base what is in the best interest of what they are needing, because they are such a people pleaser that they're wondering, well, I think that that's a decision I want to make. I think that's a good idea, but if I do it, what will other people think? Or how will it affect them, or whatever, so much so that they become incapacitated and paralyzed in an inability to make a clear choice. So first, the belief that they are incapable of being in their power to choose what is best for their highest good is what they need to clear. And then standing as that warrior in their power with deep certainty, moving toward the doorway that is evoking the feeling or the emotion of joy and playfulness and love and curiosity, or whatever it may be that they are seeking. And then move in that direction without falter or question.
And just to elaborate on this a little bit, because I hear a lot of people, like you said, are making decisions based on other people because their feelings and their emotions are so tied to other people's happiness and everything like that. So how do you know when you're going to make a decision based on feeling that you're not making that decision based on how other people feel, or how much should you take into account how other people's feelings make you feel?
Oh, well, of course you have to be considerate of someone, right? But it is that having consideration for someone that you need to, let's say you want to sing at the top of your lungs, and somebody is in a deep sleep, well, you have to take into consideration that person, and you don't just do what you want. But that's different than making a decision based on that you want them to like you because you decided to do something that you think they would like. That's very different. So you have to begin to decipher between consideration and respect for your fellow human, friend or lover or sibling or whatever it may be, versus I am doing this to please them because I cannot love myself enough to please myself, or I'm insecure and I need them to tell me that I am a good person, and if I do this then they will approve of me. That's very different. And so it's just starting to have conscious awareness around what your motivation is, and it is so ingrained in the human collective consciousness. It is so deeply embedded that so many of the decisions you are making daily, you're making based on what another person would think, so much more than you recognize, from the home you buy or the car you have, or even the type of food you eat, or the people you socialize with, or the clothes that you wear, or whatever it may be. We were with Kelly over the weekend as she was away, and she sometimes has this tendency, and we work with her on this, and she was upstairs in a room doing her yoga and taking care of herself, which is a huge leap in her consciousness. From before, she wouldn't even be doing that. And as she was doing that, she heard the other people downstairs talking or having a drink, and she thought, oh, I should get up and go down. But she didn't want to. She hadn't finished her yoga, but she didn't want them to think that she was being selfish or isolating from the group, or that perhaps that they were waiting for her, all of these things. And none of that was happening. It was just happening in her mind. They were doing their own thing. But at least there was a conscious awareness of, oh, I'm getting nervous, like I should get up from doing my yoga, is what she was thinking, because I need to be a good person and go be with the group. And so that is out of integrity with herself, because she needed to take care of herself and her body and do her practice. And so that embedded belief of wanting to take care of and please others all the time is so prevalent in the collective consciousness, and it is impeding you from really aligning and awakening to your highest potential. And so perhaps we're forgetting about the original question, but what we are wanting to all remind you is that there's that you have been indoctrinated with the idea that if you take care of yourself, that if you love yourself, if you take time to nurture yourself, that somehow you're being selfish. And that other people are more important than you are. And it is that the collective consciousness cannot make the leap that it is needing from that viewpoint of over-pleasing and taking care of others to the point of neglect of self, even though it may appear to be a virtue that would be labeled by society as good. It is not. And it is so important, especially for the divine feminine and the feminine energy, to recognize the value that they are learning and that they are sharing with their children, with the willingness to stand in their power and their truth of what is needed to care for self.
Thank you so much, Raphael. And I think it's really important to, talk about that distinction of, because sometimes other people might feel that you taking care of yourself is actually inconsiderate and disrespectful to them. And so then the question is, how do you stay in your power in knowing what you're doing is right and respectful when they might have put a condition that may be unfair about what they feel like respect is to them?
You must always follow your own truth, because as you care for yourself, you're elevating your vibration. You have more light in your being, and you are able to emanate that light and be fully present when you are with them, because you're wanting to be with them, because you know you have taken care of what you needed to take care of. And then that relationship is so much stronger, rather than you stopping what you need to do to take care of yourself, to run to be with them. You're not really present with them anyway, because a part of yourself, whether it's conscious or unconscious, is resentful that you did not do what you need to do to take care of yourself, and you're not really fully present. So in order to be completely present in a relationship where when you're with someone, you're able to engage in the dialogue fully and with an open, loving heart, you have had to do the preparatory work beforehand to make sure that you're coming to that because you're desiring to do it rather than doing it out of an obligation.
Amazing. Thank you. I think that's a really great answer. So then another question.
I'm glad you approve.
I like it. I like it. The next question from Key Southern Wildflower is the handle is, what is the best way to deal with divorce and able to forgive and move on?
Oh, yeah, yes, we recognize that the tear in the energetic field in divorce can take some time to heal, because when you choose to make a commitment of that kind, you are marrying that energetic field. And so there is an entanglement between all of your systems or energy chakra systems. And so we want you to be gentle with yourself and not hard on yourself, knowing that you each have come together on your soul journey and enjoyed or learned from one another, and now it is time to part ways to continue to grow and to explore something new, but also to give yourself time and space for healing, knowing that you are pulling back your part of that entangled energy into your system. Now, in this particular vibration of the being here that is communicating, there is a sense of betrayal. And so with that, it is that forgiveness is something that, yes, you will come to in time. And we're wanting you to know that, and that you will heal and that you will grow from this. And that even when someone is betrayed by another, they may feel that they are the victim in that scenario. But we do not want to be harsh, but you have to remember that all are participating in the drama that unfolds, whether one is the perpetrator or the victim. On one level or another, there is some agreement on the soul higher level for the involvement, the evolution of your particular life force. And so you may not be ready yet, and we are feeling as we're tuning into you that you're not ready for forgiveness, but we want you to forgive yourself for not being ready to forgive them, and to say to yourself, I love you. And we're wanting this particular being to tune into themselves and say, I love you, I love you, I love you for a while, so that you can begin to soften these tears in your field and begin to seal them up, because we're feeling there's some tears here. And it will take time to pull your energy back in and to begin to soften it. And it's the easiest way to soften it is through the vibration and even the sound of the word love. And so you will say, I love you, I love you, I love you to self. And once you are able to fully embrace and love and accept and adore yourself completely and fully, the forgiveness will emerge and you will be able to forgive.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Aww.
So another question that we have from the handle Channy's Thoughts. Hello, my question is, when we do everything to protect ourselves from lower vibrational energies, but the energy still comes, in what is the person doing wrong?
Oh, it is not that you're doing anything wrong. Is that there's still something in you that is matching with that vibration or frequency that you are needing to look at in order to heal. And so there's this concept that there's bad energies and good energies, and we don't really fully agree with that. Now, there are different levels of vibrations that are higher and lower, or lighter and denser. And when you're holding something that is still needing healing, you may find yourself catapulted into a denser vibration that you might label as negative or dark, in order for it to mirror something in self that needs to come to the surface to be healed. But you're not doing anything wrong. Now, there's a lot of talk about protecting, right? You can protect your energetic field, and there's a truth to that on many levels. And on another level, there isn't actually anything to protect oneself from, for it's just energy. And you don't, the more attention you give to it, that it is dark and negative, and you place energy toward it, the bigger it gets and the more it moves into your field. So in terms of protecting your field, is having an awareness of the energy around you, and you can simply seal it off and then stand in your power, and you can move through very dense places, or even there on the planet, there's even dense towns in certain areas where the vibration is low, and you can just move through it. Now, you might feel drained because you're like holding up your field in order to get through it, and that can be draining, yes. But if it's come into your awareness and into your experience, and you've even landed in that place, whether it be with a person or a geographical location or whatever it may be that has what you might label as negative or dark or heavy energy, it's showing up for something, and it's a perfect opportunity for reflection as to where that is still residing in self that you need to bring love and attention to, so that it can dissipate.
Thank you, Raphael. So something that I feel like comes up a lot, and it was mentioned in the chat here, is that a lot of people going through their spiritual journey, or their awakening, as many like to call it, feel a deep sense of loneliness and disconnection, when the whole idea of it is being more connected to everything. Can you speak on why people on this path tend to feel so lonely or alienated, and how they can feel more connected? And
Yes, it is temporary, because you are, what would be your word? You are the forerunners. You are ahead of the crowd. You are way ahead in the front of the line of the masses, piercing the veil and opening the space for something new. And out there, it can feel lonely, because it is that you are, we are having a difficult time today because the physical vessel we are using is tired. We're finding the words that we want to utilize from her brain. But it is that you are moving quickly, and more of you are doing it, but you're feeling isolated because a lot of the population is still very deeply embedded in 3D. And in what you might label as the old paradigm, or even normal living in a sense, and very basic day-to-day third dimensional things that need to be taken care of, that are often in the root and the sacral and the solar plexus. That's, they're operating in that mode still. And many of you have moved up into the heart and up into the crown, the pineal gland, and way beyond into higher dimensions. And from that, when you look back at the masses that are still operating in that denser energy, you feel somewhat isolated and alone. But it's not for long in linear time, because a bridge is being opened as you are doing this work that all of you on this call are doing in your meditation and in your growth and in your awakening process. First of all of you here are not alone, because you're all together on this call, and you should all get together and have a party and talk and have some fun, right? Because we don't want you to feel alone, and at least know that there are so many others like you out there. But as you're doing this and you're forging ahead, and you're piercing into that space of opening up into higher vibrational levels, it is the masses, it'll create an opening and a wider bridge, and they will all come over, and which then you will not feel so alone. You will feel more and more connected. But we deeply encourage you to be in nature, because when you are outside and you start to tap into the empty space between the trees or the leaves or whatever it may be, the blades of grass, and you feel that energy in the water or whatever, and you start to feel, I want you to begin to play with this while you're outside. Feel yourself starting to merge with that energy. And the more time you spend in nature and outside, the less and less alone you will feel, because you will begin to start to remember that you are connected to all of that you are connected to everything, and that there is no separation, and you will feel embraced like a beautiful blanket wrapped around you from Mother Earth, as you feel the pulsation of her beauty. And know that the beings such as myself and in higher dimensions are also with you, and that you are not alone. And then in addition to that, start to seek out friends and acquaintances, and connect with others in different forms that are on this same journey, so that you feel a sense of companionship.
Lovely. So it's definitely reassuring that it won't last for long. So I guess the last question that we have for today is from ANRP246, and they write, do we all have a soul contract we make before coming down to Earth?
Yes. Yes, indeed, you do. And it is that you are, there are many layers before entering into the torque field of planet Earth. But one of the places in which you have to pass through before coming is meeting with the Great Council of Light, where you sit in what you might call an etheric room with a table, and you have clear decision making as to the process of what it is you're wanting to learn and to do, and the beings in which you're going to connect with, and who you're going to be with, and what family and parents you're going to choose and be born into before you're descending, and many contracts are made. Now, there has been what we would call compensation that has happened over the last 10 to 12 years, allowing for those contracts when you are moving into the Akashic records and to higher realms in the etheric realm, and working with the Lemurians to rewrite those contracts and to create new ones, because of the fact that this planet is ascending. And so if you are awake enough to have an awareness that the contracts even exist, and you can tune into vibrations such as myself that can support you in rewriting them, then you can create new contracts, and you can also dissolve and tear up, in a sense, or shred vows and contracts that are that you feel from, or are from the perspective you are now in your awakened state, unnecessary for your evolution, and you can create other ones that perhaps might be more pleasant. For there is no need to suffer. There are so many contracts that have been in place from lifetime after lifetime, in which you have to struggle or suffer or be in lack, or not find your purpose, or be lonely, or punish yourself, all of that. And that's what we're going to work with in the upcoming class, because we brought, as we are downloading the information to Kelly, she has a lot of difficulty eating and lots of different foods, and isn't always able to experience many pleasures due to health issues. And although she has evolved in her vibration so much from where she was, and is moving very rapidly in her growth process, there was a recognizing, as we brought to her attention, that in another life, lifetime, she took a vow as she was a nun to not eat certain foods on certain days, and to not have many pleasures, and to punish herself. And that vow that she took was so strong that it bled through into this lifetime. And so we are working with her in clearing that, so that that is no longer serving her, for it's not helping her. The parts that aren't helping her around those vows are no longer being bled into this lifetime, so she can open up space for more joy and laughter. Now, part of the reason that some of the vow came into play was because that if that vow continued to rotate, it would remind her not to eat certain foods that would create inflammation in the body, and that if she were to eat them, it would impede our ability from the angelic realm to utilize her as a vessel, because foods that carry less light are dead, and deadened foods deaden the vibrational frequency of the body and make it very difficult for someone to channel. So there is a double thing happening here, because her soul knew that she had to eat very, very light food on an energetic and vibrational level in order to be able to do this work, which was part of her soul contract at the council, to work with 144,000 to elevate the vibration of the planet. And that was her work to do. And it bled through for many lifetimes of being a holy woman. And now it is that there is very, what would it be, subtle differences between a contract that one has that is in place because it is supporting you in doing your mission, even though you think it is something negative, right? So that's different. And that's also in play, versus a contract that's in play from another lifetime of a vow that you took that's impeding you expressing your fullest potential, but is now you're ready to let go of. So it is that every vow that you've taken that even bleeds through into a particular lifetime that may be labeled as negative has its purpose. And just because you void that contract, you have to honor which ones may still need to stay in place in order for you to be ready to let them go, and to do it whether or not the vow is in place. As an example, and then we will finish, if this particular example would be that if Kelly can just eat the very, very high vibrational food, just because she knows she has to do that in order to hold a certain frequency in order for us to channel through her, then she can do it without having to have in place that she gets sick if she doesn't eat those foods, which is the vow that was put in place to as a safeguard, like a holding place for her to live up to her commitment to live out her purpose. So that's it's very intricate and interesting, and important to begin to go into the subconscious to start to bring awareness and shed light on these ideas, so that you have a better understanding as to why certain patterns may continue to arise in your life that you may be ready now to let go of.
Beautiful, Raphael. Thank you
right.
so much for today, and it's been a full hour.
All right, you're welcome. Many blessings and good day. I love you all.
Yeah, so let everybody know that it was kind of funky with the times today because of daylight savings time, and we're gonna send out that replay.
So we'll send out the replay. We changed the time just for this week because I was out of town. It will be the normal 2 o'clock next Sunday, and between daylight savings time and the time change, a lot of people didn't make it on the call, but that's how it goes. I'm not going to worry about it.
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Life happens. So I'll see everybody next Sunday, 2 p.m. East Coast time. Invite your friends. We're going to do a meditation for healing on the planet and continue to answer questions. Thank you so much for all of those of you who donate to these calls. And we've got a couple weeks left for the Starseed Masterclass for you to sign up. It's still an early bird special, but that'll be ending soon. Okay, I love you. Mwah. Many blessings.